The birthday cake is already in my trunk when my mother calls. Just so you know, she says, and I can hear my aunt laughing in the background, glasses clinking. Someone's kids shrieking the way kids do when they're running through a house that isn't theirs. Your cousin's party is going to be a little more low-key this year. Nothing fancy, we just want everyone together. I tell her that sounds perfect. I mean it. My daughter is turning 7 in 11 days. We talked about combining the celebrations. Her birthday falls 2 weeks after my cousin's, and my mother had suggested, very reasonably, that maybe we skip the separate parties this year. Money's tight everywhere. My husband had just switched to a new position that came with a pay cut we were still adjusting to. Let's just do a family dinner, my mother had said. Simple. Meaningful. The kids will be fine. So I canceled the bounce house reservation. I get my deposit back, $40, which I put toward groceries. I tell my daughter we're going to have a special family dinner instead, and she says okay and goes back to coloring. She doesn't make a fuss. She never does. That's the thing about her. She trusts me completely, and I have never once thought about how dangerous that is until this year. We drive 2 hours to my mother's house on a Saturday afternoon. My daughter sits in the back with her stuffed rabbit and a library book about dinosaurs. She's been talking about the party for weeks, not her own, but my cousin's. Is Lily going to have a cake? She asks. Does Lily like dinosaurs too? She and my cousin's daughter are close in age, a year apart. And they play well together in the way little kids do when they haven't yet learned to compare themselves to each other. We pull onto my mother's street and I see the cars first. There are 6, 7, 8 of them lining the block in a way that does not look like a simple family dinner. There's a van I don't recognize parked halfway on the lawn. Someone has tied balloons to the mailbox, the big foil kind, silver and gold, the ones that cost $4 each at Party City. I sit in the car for a moment after I park. My daughter unbuckles herself and presses her face to the window. Mama, balloons! I carry the grocery bag I brought. I'd volunteered to bring a salad because we'd been told it was casual. And I walk toward the front door. The backyard is where they've set everything up. There is a bounce house. It's blue and yellow, shaped like a castle, and it takes up most of my mother's yard. There is a table with a catered spread, not homemade food. Actual trays from a restaurant, labeled in little chalkboard signs. There is a woman in an apron who appears to be serving. There is a dessert station. I know what a dessert station looks like because I'd priced one out for my daughter's party before I canceled it. This one has a chocolate fountain. My cousin stands near the bounce house in a sundress, laughing, holding a glass of rosé. My daughter sees the bounce house and takes off running before I can say a word. My mother appears at my elbow. She squeezes my arm. Isn't it fun, she says. Your uncle surprised them. He wanted it to be special. I smile. I don't know what else to do. I smile, and I say, it's great. And I set my salad on the food table next to the restaurant trays, and I stand very still for a moment in the middle of my mother's backyard, watching my daughter climb into a bounce house she almost had herself, and I don't say anything at all. My uncle is my mother's brother. He lives 40 minutes away and visits on holidays. He is retired. He drives a newer car than my husband and I do and takes a cruise every February and has never, not once in the 12 years I've been an adult, offered to help me with anything. What he has done, faithfully and generously, is show up to my cousin's milestones with money. Good money. The kind of money that rents bounce houses and pays for catering. My cousin is his daughter. That's the whole explanation. I sit through the party. I eat the catered food. I watch my daughter play with Lily in the bounce house, and for a little while, I let myself just watch them. 2 little girls with no awareness of any of this, jumping and laughing and falling down and getting back up. That part is genuinely nice. That part I keep. The cake comes out and it's 3 tiers. There's a fondant figure of Lily on top. A woman with a camera takes pictures. There's a gift table stacked so high that Lily can't even see over it. My daughter doesn't ask me why Lily has more presents. She doesn't say anything. She stands next to me and holds my hand and sings happy birthday very seriously, like she's performing a duty. On the drive home, she falls asleep in her car seat. I drive and I don't turn on the radio. My husband asks me once how it was, and I say, fine, and he hears what I mean because he knows me and he doesn't ask again. That night after she's in bed, I sit down at the kitchen table with my laptop. I want to explain something before I tell you what I found because I know how this looks. I know the version of this story where I'm the jealous one, the petty one, the one who can't just be happy for her cousin. I've told myself that version too. I've practiced it. I've gotten very good at it over the years. But here's what's also true. I have been the one for 4 years who quietly makes sure things work in my family, not loudly. Not in any way that gets acknowledged. I set up the family phone plan when my mother's contract ran out and she didn't understand the new system. I added her to it. I added my aunt, because my aunt was staying with my mother that year and it seemed unkind not to. I pay that bill every month, $180, which includes lines I added for people who have never once offered to pay me back. I help my mother with her streaming accounts. She has 3. I set them all up. I pay for the family tiers. She shares the passwords with my cousin and my aunt because she wanted to, and I said that was fine. When my parents' water heater broke 2 years ago, I was the one who sent money. Not a loan. I knew it wasn't a loan. My father was embarrassed about it and I told him not to be, and we never talked about it again, which meant it was mine. There are other things. There are a lot of other things. I've never written them down before because writing them down felt like keeping score, and I didn't want to be the person who kept score. I open a spreadsheet. It takes me about 2 hours. I go through my bank statements, my credit card statements, my phone bill account. I find the Venmo transactions. I find the PayPal. I find the months where I just handed cash to my mother at the door because her power bill was higher than expected. I write down every number. The phone plan, $180 a month. For 4 years. Not quite, 38 months. That is, $6,840. Of that, my mother uses 2 lines. My aunt uses 1. My cousin uses 1. I am paying for 4 people's cell phones, 2 of whom are not my immediate family, none of whom have ever said anything other than thank you. The streaming accounts, $47 a month combined. 38 months, $1,706. The water heater, $1,200. Various Venmos tagged just until the 15th or grocery run. I stop counting when I get to $3,400 across 18 separate transactions, and I know I haven't found all of them. I sit back and look at the number at the bottom of the spreadsheet. It is not a small number. I think about the bounce house in my mother's backyard. I think about my daughter holding my hand, singing happy birthday very seriously. I think about the deposit I got back, $40, which I put toward groceries, and how proud I felt of myself for being practical. I think about the dessert station, the chocolate fountain. I close the laptop and go to bed. I don't sleep, but I go to bed. In the morning I wake up and I feel very calm. That kind of calm that comes after you've been underwater for a while and you finally stop kicking. I make my daughter breakfast. She eats her eggs and asks if we can go to the library. I tell her yes. We go to the library and she picks out 4 books and I let her get a hot chocolate from the cart in the lobby, which is a treat we do sometimes. She holds the cup with both hands and beams at me like I've given her something enormous. That afternoon, while she naps, I go back to the spreadsheet. I don't add anything else. I just look at it for a long time. Then I open the phone plan account. I remove my aunt's line. I remove my cousin's line. I send a text to my mother. I've made some changes to the phone plan. You and Dad still have your lines, but I had to cut back on the extras. You should let them know so they can get their own plans sorted. I keep it simple. I keep it factual. I don't explain. My cousin texts me 22 minutes later. She says her phone is showing a network error. I say that I'm sorry to hear that and that she'll want to contact her carrier. She texts back. I don't respond. I open the streaming accounts. I log everyone else out. I change the passwords. I downgrade from the family tiers to the individual plans, which saves me $29 a month. I open Venmo and I block the payment requests I'd been ignoring for 2 months, the ones tagged, "Hey, just need a little help," and you know I'm good for it. I don't block the people, just the requests. It's a boundary, not a punishment. That's what I keep telling myself, and by the 3rd day, I start to believe it. My mother calls on Tuesday. I let it go to voicemail. She leaves a message that says, "Honey, your aunt is saying something about the phone. Can you call me?" I text back, "Hey Mom, I had to simplify the plan." It was getting hard to keep up with all the extra lines. Hope you understand. She doesn't respond for a day and a half, which tells me she understands more than she's letting on. My cousin calls on Wednesday. I don't answer. She doesn't leave a voicemail. My aunt texts me a paragraph that I read once and then set the phone down. It uses phrases like, family takes care of family, and I thought you were different. I don't respond. I don't respond because I have learned, very recently, that responding is a form of reopening, and I am done with that particular door. My husband sits across from me at the kitchen table on Wednesday night. He's been watching all of this with the look he gets when he's trying to understand something, without asking too many questions. Are you okay? He says. I think about the honest answer, which is, I don't know yet. What I know is that I feel like I've put something down that I've been carrying so long I forgot I was carrying it. My arms are sore in the way they get after you've been gripping something too hard for too long, and that soreness is real, but it's also proof that I let go. I think so, I tell him. I think I'm going to be. He nods. He reaches across and puts his hand over mine. That's enough. The following weekend, I plan my daughter's birthday. Not a family dinner, not simple and meaningful. Her birthday. I ask her what she wants, and she says she wants a dinosaur cake and her 3 best friends from school and to go to the trampoline park afterward. I write it all down. I call the trampoline park and I book it. I call the bakery and I order a dinosaur cake, not 3 tiers, not fondant figurines, just a good chocolate cake with a buttercream T-Rex on top and her name in green frosting. She is so excited she can barely sleep the night before. She comes into our room at 5:30 in the morning and stands at the edge of the bed and whispers, "Mama, is it today?" And I pull her in and she smells like sleep and something sweet. And I think, This is what I was protecting. The party is small. 4 kids, 4 parents, a lot of jumping and laughing, and 1 minor collision that produces a brief cry and then immediate recovery. The cake is perfect. She blows out 7 candles on the first try and looks up at me with a face so lit from the inside it almost hurts to look at. On the drive home, she falls asleep again, same as she always does, rabbit on her lap. I look at her in the mirror. I look at my husband. He's smiling at something on the road. I have not heard from my cousin in 3 weeks. My aunt went silent after I didn't respond to the paragraph. My mother and I have spoken twice. Short calls, careful. The kind where we're both finding the new shape of something. She hasn't asked me to add anyone back to the phone plan. I haven't brought up the spreadsheet. Maybe we'll get there someday. Maybe we'll sit across from each other and I'll be able to say, I kept track so I could stop keeping track. I needed to see the numbers so I could close the account. Not the bank account. The internal one, the one I've been running for years, where every deposit was a resentment I hadn't admitted yet. Or maybe we won't get there. Maybe this is just what things look like now, a little quieter, a little less, a little more honest. I can live with that. I am, in fact, living with that. There's a picture on my phone from the birthday party. My daughter has frosting on her nose and both arms raised like she's won something. She's wearing the dinosaur shirt she picked out herself, the one with the triceratops that she insists is a girl triceratops named Patricia. And she is grinning so wide her eyes are nearly closed. I look at that picture sometimes when I need to remember what I did and why. I couldn't make my family fair. I couldn't reach back into 4 years of Saturday phone payments and 2 small deposits and quietly canceled parties and fix any of it. That's not how it works. The money is gone, the time is gone, and some version of me stood in a backyard last spring holding a salad I'd offered to make and watched a chocolate fountain and kept her face completely still, and I can't undo that either. What I could do was stop. What I could do was look at the spreadsheet and let it make me brave. What I could do was come home and put my daughter first and plan a party with a T-Rex cake and 7 candles and 4 kids who jumped until they were pink in the face and call that enough. It was enough. It was more than enough. It was everything. I've thought a lot about what it actually means to be generous. Not the idea of it. I've always had a pretty idea of it, but the real thing, the version that lives in spreadsheets and bank statements and Saturday afternoons where you're standing in someone else's backyard holding a salad you offered to make. For a long time I thought generosity was something you just kept doing. You kept the phone plan going. You covered the water heater. You sent the Venmo when the text said, just until the 15th, because that's what you do for family, and you don't keep score, and you don't make it weird. I told myself that story so many times it stopped sounding like a story and started sounding like a fact. But here's what I've had to reckon with. There is a version of generosity that isn't generosity at all. It's just avoidance. It's easier to cover the bill than to have the conversation. It's easier to stay quiet in the backyard than to say out loud what you're seeing. I wasn't being selfless. I was being afraid. Afraid of being seen as petty, as difficult, as the one who ruined the family dynamic. I kept giving because stopping felt like a confrontation, and I didn't want to be the person who caused a confrontation. My daughter changed that, not by saying anything. She didn't say a word at that party that broke me. She just stood next to me and held my hand and sang happy birthday like it was a job she took seriously. That image is the one I came back to over and over when I was opening account settings and changing passwords and composing the most careful, neutral texts I've ever written. She trusted me. She trusted me to make things fair for her, and I had been so busy making things comfortable for everyone else that I hadn't noticed how long I'd been failing at that. What I understand now, looking back, is that the choices I made quietly accumulated into a reality I hadn't chosen. Every month I paid that phone bill, I was choosing it. Every time I didn't say anything, I was choosing that too. The situation didn't just happen to me. I built it, slowly, one silent accommodation at a time. That's not blame, it's just the mechanism. Actions compound. Silence compounds. Resentment compounds even when you're actively trying not to let it. The spreadsheet didn't make me angry. It made me clear there's a difference. Anger wants to punish someone. Clarity just wants to stop. I wasn't looking to make my cousin feel ashamed or my aunt feel called out. I just needed to see the number so I could close the account. Not the bank account, but the one I'd been running internally for 4 years, where every deposit was something I'd swallowed and every withdrawal was a piece of energy I didn't have anymore. The bounce house I booked for my daughter cost less than 2 months of that phone plan. She had 4 friends, a chocolate T-Rex cake, and an afternoon that left her so tired she fell asleep in the car with her rabbit on her lap, smiling in her sleep. That party cost less than almost any single line item in that spreadsheet, and it was the best thing I'd done in years. I think that's the thing nobody tells you about integrity. It isn't dramatic. It doesn't announce itself. It just means your actions and your values end up in the same place, and when they finally do, there's this quiet that settles in. Not emptiness, but room. Room to actually be where you are. Room to watch your kid blow out 7 candles and mean it when you smile.